Call it a hunch, but we think the Detroit Lions tried to trade up for an edge rusher in the first round, and we think we know who that edge rusher was. Let's talk about it. Hi, Mike Payton from A to Z Sports Detroit. Today we're going to talk about how it kind of seems like the Lions tried to trade up for an edge rusher in the first round, and we kind of know who that guy might be. Let's talk about it. First, edge rusher, that's the thing the Lions fans have wanted the most. It's the thing they talk about the most. It's the thing that the media talks about the most. It's the thing that annoys Brad Holmes more than anything. You could see it on his face. You could see it, in his body language. You could hear it in his words. He's tired of talking about it. Well, speaking of talking about it, he was asked about edge rushers on day 2 after the second and third rounds concluded, and he had this to say. I don't need to get into specifics, but there were times we made attempts to get one, and they got picked before, you couldn't get up. It takes 2 to trade. So there's your there's your example right there. There's your proof that the Lions did attempt to trade up for an edge rusher at some point in time. Why do we think it was the first round? Well, you look at the top 30 visits that the Lions had with edge rushers. You get Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. You got Josiah Stewart from Michigan and Q Robinson from Alabama. Now, Robinson went on day 3. The Lions could have drafted him at any point, and they didn't. Josiah Stewart, they had multiple chances to do that. They traded up twice on day 2. They just didn't take him. Day 1, they didn't attempt to trade up, and there's Shamar Stewart there. He goes 17th overall to the Bengals. We think they tried to jump the Bengals to get Shamar Stewart. And the reason why, look, if you look at, obviously, the Browns and the Jaguars started the draft off with a trade, but until then, there was no other trades. From the 5th pick on to, I think it was the 22nd pick, there were no trades. The Lions may have tried, which to me says all those teams wanted to stick and had guys they wanted to pick, obviously, and didn't want to trade down or risk, losing those guys. So the Lions may have tried to trade up with like the Cardinals or, teams like that who were above the Bengals in the draft, and all those teams said no. And the reason we think that was they tried to trade up over those guys is because, hey, if you look past 17, there isn't any other edge rushers other than James Pierce who gets taken later. The Lions were never going to take that guy. There was some character issues. It was just he did not fit the Lions culture-wise, or he's just not the kind of guy for Detroit. Other than that, Shamar Stewart was really the only edge that was taken in the middle of the first round where the Lions could have traded up, was in their zone to trade up. They never did it. So I think that's the one that makes the most amount of sense. And then when you get to 28, there were still some guys left on the board. We know Donovan Zaraku, Nick Scordon, all those guys were there. The Lions chose to take Tyleik Williams. They had chances at all these other edge rushers. They didn't take them. Shamar Stewart's the one guy they had in for a visit. That it just makes sense that they tried to trade up for him in a zone where nobody was willing to trade their picks. Takes 2 to trade, like you said. That's why we believe that the Lions attempted to get Shamar Stewart, but they didn't get him. And that's going to be all right. We'll see where that goes. Obviously, he's going to be pretty good for the Bengals, we think. But I think Amon-Ra is going to be really good for the Lions. I think that was maybe one of the biggest steals of the draft. And when it comes down to it here in the next few years, I think you'll all see that. I think this guy, call me crazy, I think he's a future Pro Bowler. I really do. I believe that the work ethic and I believe that the athleticism that he already has alone could propel him there. We'll see where that goes. But that's what we think. That's why we are making this video, because we think, hey, maybe there's a possibility they try to trade up. It's just a hunch. Let us know what you think.